Oh, hello there. You caught me playing my favourite video game, the League of Legends. Now, if you're like me, you know that League of Legends is known for one simple thing. No, not that bit. No, not that either. The yordles. It's known for the yordles. So, Mechs vs Minions is a board game based on the video game League of Legends. But fret not if your APM isn't up to snuff, or you've never even involved in the cultural phenomenon that is League of Legends. Mechs vs Minions thankfully only dips its toe in the dark swirling vortex that is League of Legends. In this cooperative programming game, you and your friends will be battling it out against a horde of minions by taking control of 4 different mechs. Before we get onto the programming part of the game, we've got an example board layout, and you may already begin to realise something magical about the entire game. And it's all the tiny little bits. From the little mech statues that are beautifully painted, to the number of dice and boards and metal rings and other things, and minions. Lots and lots of minions. But wait, there is more in this veritable chest of goodies. Inside you'll find a staggering 11 dossiers, which all act as the missions you'll be playing through and provide the board layout, the minion placement, how they're going to move, etc. for every single mission you'll be playing, as well as new cards. And they're great to slowly work through. With each new mission there's this eager sense of anticipation as you open up the next dossier and you're all sat around there going, what'll it be? What'll it be? Death. Now, I've mentioned programming and commanding a few times already, and you might be sat there thinking, Chris, do I have to become the champion of C++? Must I be the judge of Java, the premier of Python? Will I need to be the hierarch of HTML? Fret not, for what I actually mean is that Mechs vs Minions is a programming game, which means you and your 3 friends will be selecting one of the programming cards at the start of each turn and slotting it into your command line in one of possibly 6 positions. Then, once that's all said and done, you'll then carry out your command line in order from 1 to 6, carrying out each action and hopefully doing something useful. And these commands come in 3 major types. Move commands that allow you to generally move forward, crushing any minions underfoot as you go. Rotate commands that allow you to spin on the spot and change direction. And then attack commands that perform a variety of different attacks, such as Ripsaw, which allows you to throw a saw blade across the entire map. And eventually killing the very first thing it hits. Oh no! And each command type comes in one of 4 flavours: blue, red, green and yellow. And this is important because you can end up layering similar colour commands on top of one another to make them more powerful. And this can be putting a yellow movement on top of a yellow rotate to now have a level 2 movement. So as you play the game, you'll be slowly building up this complex command chain that has the ability to evolve and adapt as the scenario calls for, but also getting stronger and stronger, to the point where you may be running and gunning across the entire map, hopefully doing something useful. And it's this simple process that makes Mechs vs Minions so exceptionally accessible. For you see, new players and new board gamers will find themselves suddenly understanding what to do and wrapping their head around this box of goodies in no time at all, because ultimately it's just a simple process of moving characters around physical space. Now, also on your turn, you can just choose to discard your command instead, which can either allow you to swap 2 undamaged slots around, so instead of actually building towards anything, you're just taking a turn out to basically reorganize, or they can allow you to repair damage, freeing up a slot for what it was actually meant to be. But what is damage, you may ask? After you've carried out your whirling dervish of hopeful death, the minions then move and are newly summoned in. And for every minion that is orthogonally adjacent to you, you take a damage card from this deck of damage. Now, these could be something as simple as swapping 2 of your slots around to a more permanent damage, such as moving to the right. In which case, when you draw the card, you first move your character to the right, you then roll one of your little die, and that will determine exactly what slot on your command line that permanently sits in until you repair it. And then every single time you do your command line, you have to then do that damage command. It's great. Suddenly your well-crafted, well-thought-out machine that you've got going on is suddenly spinning wildly out of control. Except for this time, it may not actually be deliberate. This is kind of wonderful because it adds this element of chaos that works so thematically well with the Yordles of League of Legends. And as you progress through the missions, your damage deck will get more and more devastating and increasingly horrifying damage cards to add to it. This and the gradually more complicated missions just makes this box of goodies quite a surprisingly tough challenge to deal with. The missions themselves also all have some form of escalation to them, which means that once you've reached a certain criteria, everything becomes harder. Minions move faster, they might spawn more frequently, or lava may rapidly encroach on your position ever quicker. All of this, alongside some surprisingly tough fail scenarios, will lead to you and your friends all sat there with your heads in your hands, trying to desperately puzzle out just how you're meant to both go out and solve the situation, but also stay behind and defend everything from blowing up in some horrific display of minion carnage. This is also where I begin to get one of my main issues with the game itself. It's a 4-player game. That's not to say it is a game that you can have up to 4 players with. It is specifically designed around being a 4-player game. Sure, if you were to play with fewer players, then it means that you have more access to, well, more command cards each turn, so you can have a better, well-defined command chain quicker, but there are missions that will have you traveling out in 3 directions and back, and also defending the home plate that becomes an incredible challenge for fewer players. There are easy modes for a lot of the missions, but these mainly just add extra health to the objectives, such as bombs or defending home plates or whatever. However, it doesn't necessarily address the issue of being completely overwhelmed by so many minions because there just aren't enough of you to deal with them. Also, whilst I am being negative, I might as well point out that the rulebook that the game provides you with is less of a rule book and more of a rules reference guide. Instead, it talks about individual instances of things, but not actually really explaining them in any detail. Because what you'll find is that actually as you come across them during the missions, they have a much more in-depth explanation as to what they are and what they do. And this can mean that if you ever find yourself querying a rules reference, your best option is trying to go and find the exact rule and the exact mission it was in. However, good luck trying to find out and remember which mission it actually first appeared in to try and look up that reference. Then finally, a few minor gameplay annoyances, or disappointments. You have special abilities. These are super powerful abilities that unlock once you've killed enough minions and moved this marker up along its track. These are fine and fun and work, but then you've got your override commands, which are meant to be even stronger special abilities. Now these unlock once you get your little marker all the way up to 15, which requires you to kill a staggering 75 minions to even get to use them. And you never really will, because it just doesn't go on that long. Furthermore, you've also got a thing called towing. Now towing is an obscure rule that only ever really comes into play a couple of missions, but in theory is present the entire time. It allows you to move either objectives such as the bomb or allies and alongside with you by paying an extra movement cost. However, I forget about this rule all the time except for missions that involve the bomb, because it's just such a weird rule. I can't foresee a tactical play that involves dragging your cohort across the map and it just rapidly goes forgotten. It's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just one of those niggling weirdnesses of just like, it's just a bit flat. Anyway, do you want to know what one of my favourite aspects of this entire game is? It's the box itself. It's so filled with so many hidden tricks and goodies and delights that the entire group will be oohing with intrigue as you unpack everything and set everything up. And it's also filled with so many hidden mysteries for you to uncover and discover that when I first realised some of them, it blew my tiny little mind and it was incredible. You see, the box itself has so many wonderful inlays in the way everything slots together and the layers fit perfectly on top of one another. It packs away so nicely that as you're either getting it out and setting it up or just putting it away at the end of the day, you end up feeling like some sort of secret agent erecting some mechanical secret hidden weapon tool up atop a hill somewhere. Mechs vs Minions is this wonderful co-op game that has this puzzle that is almost impossible to perfectly solve due to the random nature of the commands and damage, and also the limiting nature of them. This kind of manages to stop any heavy-handed quarterbacking from occurring during your gameplay because no one can really effectively say definitely what is the best plan. Not to mention that it constantly keeps this sense of everything being under your control just ever so slightly, just out of reach to keep you constantly on the edge of your seats. Not to mention that the presentation itself is just kind of gorgeous with these wonderful little statues and everything just looking quite nice. It just means that you constantly want to keep pushing on and on through the missions to try and see what's coming up next, but also with that constant sense of dread because, well, it was pretty tough the last time. How tough is it going to be this time? Mechs vs Minions is a wonderful entry game. Don't let the heavy and large weighty box put you off. In actual fact, it is delightfully simple and devilishly challenging, which just means that everyone will always just be able to pick it up very quickly and engrossed immediately in this horrific puzzle of disaster waiting to happen. Not to mention that the presentation, the statues, the colourful nature of it, and well, everything else just makes it so welcoming that I think even the most newest board gamers, people who have never played board games before, people who are only just getting into it, they'll easily find themselves enjoying the experience. Not to mention that the best part about it is, it's not even that difficult to completely reset. If you wanted to, you could very easily take this board game once you've completed it to another group of friends to play it all over again, because there's just envelopes that you put the cards back into. It is a delightful box of tricks to work through and engage in, and it's just full of so much fun that I can't help but recommend it as a game for everyone. Sadly, Riot Games have basically stated that what you see is what you get. There won't be any extra bits and pieces added to this experience. However, at the plus side, it does mean that this wonderful gem of a game will stay preserved forever. Oh god, I think I had a nightmare where I was enjoying League of Legends. No!